You love me so much more than I could ever know. Your love is deeper than this world will ever show. And all of life's beauty shines around this moment now. The sky and the cliffs, they seem to change my life somehow. And I will never be the same, will never be the same. Whoa, 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 I will never be the same, never be the same ever again. Well, here I am waiting, Lord, my life is just for you. Please unfold all the plans that you would have me do. And if all the world's just a breath and nothing's here to stay, and all of the love we feel will save us anyway. And I will never be the same, will never be the same. Whoa, I will never be the same, will never be the same ever again.
Hello and welcome to another SDA Q&A. I'm your host, and some of you may be asking, hang on, it's nearly 2 o'clock in London and it's nearly 6 a.m. in the morning in California, and it's nearly 11 o'clock p.m. in Australia, in New South Wales, and various other time zones. What on earth is Peter doing going live and doing a show? Well, it's something that's not officially a show, a program, an interview. It's really just something I wanted to mark in the sand, a celebration, because this day, 9 years ago, April 15, was the day I publicly left the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so I just wanted to, go live and say something about it so that it is, not just a day that passes without me doing something to commemorate it. That's what I'm trying to say. And so, so here I am. And it's going to be a very short show, because really all I wanted to say was 9 years ago, April 15, I wrote what I've called my leaving post. And I publicly let people know that I was leaving the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So I'm just kind of commemorating that today. So thank you for watching. Thanks to those who watched down the track. It's not really a big deal. It's just I'm home alone today, and I thought, hey, I'm going to go and talk to my friends over at SDA Q&A and yeah, just share this brief time together. What I'm going to do is read to you that post. Now, what was interesting is the post, excuse me, received, well, at the time there were 1,400 comments. As time went by, because Facebook does this Facebook memories thing, it would pop up every year on my feed. And nowadays, I think you have to comment on a feed for it to actually, excuse me, it's not tears. I've just got something in my eye. Tears of joy. Yeah, back then they would just do a Facebook memory and up it would pop again on your wall. Nowadays, I think you have to kind of comment on it or like it or something for it to actually come on the wall again. But I do remember the first few times it came back up, people were kind of deleting their comments, and I wish I'd screenshot a lot of them. I did a few years later, but when I checked it out, this just maybe half an hour ago, I found it, searched for it on my Facebook wall, and there are still 1,100 comments there, quite a few shares, and a variety of over 700 likes, love hearts, and tears. And I think there were one or two angry faces. But by and large, as I went over it just in the last half an hour, the comments are very positive and very supportive. So that's kind of been my experience, that I've been pretty lucky. I have, you've heard me talk about times of the odd attack or suppression or pushback or the nuanced kind of defaming of character, etc. Seems to be happening more lately. But back in the early days, everyone was pretty supportive, and I was able to say, look, I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still here. So anyway, I thought I would read the post, and I'm not going to read all 1,100 comments and sub-comments. There were conversations that went on, but I'm just going to read a few at random, and I'm only going to go for 5 or 10 minutes. So if you're getting up in the west coast of the US of A, you'll be able to watch for a few minutes before you go to work. Those of us here in Australia, watch for a few minutes before you go to bed. And if you're in the UK or Europe, hope you're having a bit of a mid-afternoon snack and get to watch for a few minutes. But I just want to thank everyone for their support, and let's go to the post. So it's a post that I didn't comment on or engage on. I purposely did that because I realized soon after posting it that I would spoil the flow of the conversation. One thing I noticed is that people were assuming reasons why I left. And some were accurate, some weren't. And I thought, look, you know what? I'm just going to let this play out. So to my knowledge, apart from one comment, I think I added saying something about, look, I didn't leave because of any personal church. There was a lot of people starting to say, "Oh, are you angry? What's happened? Has someone hurt your feelings?" That kind of thing. I wanted to reassure people that that wasn't the case, and so I think that's the only thing I wrote on there of all the 1,000+ comments. I didn't engage, but not to be rude. I just wanted to let people have their say. In the week following, I had over 300 messages sent to me in Messenger, and to this day I haven't read them. It was just a bit overwhelming, but I'm planning next year and over this year to just go through a lot of those messages and just read them. So if you wrote to me after I left the church and I didn't write back, that's why. I just wanted to let it kind of just let people have their say and just let it all settle. And it kind of didn't settle in many ways because I had already started SDA Q&A and I continued it on, as you can tell. And I added the subtitle, A Former Adventist Looking In From the Outside, and a whole new thing began. So just before I start reading my post, I just want to share with you the lead up to it very quickly. During the Antonio vote in 2015, I can't remember the date. Someone watching can tell me. And I was holding Renee. You've heard me share this. I was holding Renee, and I'm watching YouTube, and I'm watching the no vote, and I'm watching Jan Paulsen get booed. And something inside me, as I'm holding the little Renee, something just went, I cannot put my name to this anymore. And there's a funny video. If you look on YouTube, one of the early videos is that night. I paused the YouTube and I said to Renee, women's ordination is a good thing. And she went, yes. And she would have only been 4, just not quite 4, just 3.5. And yeah, something went off in my brain and I heard myself saying, I can't put my name to this anymore. And at some point soon after, I was chatting to my bass player, my good mate, and I said to him, and again, it kind of just came out of the middle of nowhere. By the time of my next birthday, I am going to leave the Adventist Church. By the time my next birthday comes, I will no longer be a Seventh-day Adventist. And he went, wow, interesting. And we didn't really unpack it too much. But as that time drew closer, we're out of 2015 now, into 2016. On Friday evening, April 15, and what are we today? It's a Tuesday. Friday the 15th, I'm sitting there around 3-ish. I don't know if I've told this story and said different dates, but sometime in the afternoon, I was sitting there in my bedroom, plonked down on the bed, looking out the window, looking at the beautiful bushes and trees outside. And I thought, wow, my birthday is in 5 days' time. My birthday is next week. And I said to myself, and I said it out loud, that by the time I hit my next birthday, I will no longer be a Seventh-day Adventist. And whoa, I had all these feelings really start to well up within me. I remembered the night of holding Renee and saying, I can't put my name to this anymore. And I thought to myself, am I going to leave the church? I said I would by my next birthday, and that's next week. And so I found myself toying with the idea of what it would look like to leave the Adventist church. And I thought, well, what about if I left the church publicly on Facebook? What would that look like? Would I then save myself having to tell people and message people and ring people and email people and just have this ongoing conversation. I thought, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it now. But what? And then I came back from the edge and again thought, well, what's it going to look like if I did? So I got my phone and I typed out this message that I'm going to read to you now. And by now I know it was, definitely evening. The sun was setting outside. And I wrote this. And again, I think I added to this a little bit later. I'll try and remember at the point where I did. So this is 9 years ago. It's April 15 right now. But let me take you back to sunset. I'd been sitting on the bed and I started writing this out. And I thought, I probably won't send it. I won't post it. But what's it going to look like if I do? So this is what I wrote. And here it is. This is my last Sabbath as a Seventh-day Adventist. Come sunset tomorrow, I am no longer an SDA. I love my SDA family and friends, and that won't change. I know that those who care about me will continue to do so. I hope to continue healthy and rewarding connections with the people I've grown to love over my life as a Seventh-day Adventist. To call this a difficult decision would be an understatement. I have been and I made a mistake here, a fourth generation SDA. Found out after posting this I was a fifth generation Adventist. So to disconnect feels like a surgical procedure, but I can no longer align myself to this denomination. I'm still me. I hope you understand and accept me as I am. Thank you. So I'm sitting there having written that, and I and that is exactly what it was. I thought I'd added something. I didn't add anything. That's it. Friday night, 9 years ago on the day. I'm sitting there, sun's going down, and I'm thinking, wow, my last Sabbath as a Seventh-day Adventist. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? And I looked at my phone, and I remember my wife poking her head in. She was wondering where I was. She poked her head into the bedroom, and we've got a sliding door, and it slid open, and she looks around, and she could see my face just kind of very phlegmatic, just kind of no expression, all internal stuff going on. And she said, "Are you okay?" And I just said, yep, I'm fine. So she had no idea what I was about to do. I hadn't, and I'm not saying that was the right thing to do. I'm just saying that's what I did, because I didn't want people to influence my decision. And so apart from me saying to Renee at the Antonio Novo, watching YouTube in what was probably late 2015, telling her I can't put my name to this anymore, telling my bass player mate, my good mate, that by my next birthday I won't be. I didn't tell anybody else. That journey from late 2015 to April 15, 2016 was a solitary one, and one of I guess, deep reflection, but my personality wasn't sitting down writing pros and cons. Mine was just some kind of deep pondering that, yeah, must have been going on anyway. So I said, yeah, I'm fine. And she went out. Now, I'm not 100% sure, and I may have told this story with different times, but I know we have afternoon, we have sunset, we have post sunset, and I'm sitting there well after sunset. It's dark now. The phone is glowing, and reminds me a little bit of when Andy Mack left the church and wrote her leaving email to the church, and she was holding a phone, and next minute she just pressed it and said, "There, I've done it. I've sent it." And I remember thinking, wow, that was very moving. So I'm sitting there in the dark, not really sure of the time, and I just felt myself holding up the phone, and a great sense of peace and conviction, and for me, a knowing of what was the right thing for me to do so that I could be true to my daughters. And because I remember by now, there were 2 little daughters, and I wanted to be as authentic as I could to them. So I knew that in spite of all the doctrine issues that I'd already had and was living a cognitive dissonance kind of life, just kind of ignoring the things I didn't agree with, and quite happily hanging out with friends, social, cultural Adventism, loving the music, loving the association of many of the youth leaders and friendships I'd built up. But I just knew, I had an incredible conviction that to be true to my daughters, I had to press post. And so I just went, done. And wow, out it went. Hand on heart, I didn't think it would have an impact. I didn't think it would get much attention. I thought there might be 20 or 30 likes, a handful of comments. I didn't think it would have any kind of a stirring of the pot. And yeah, so next morning, my wife poked her head in and said, "What did you just do?" And I said, I've left the church. I've left the Adventist church. And I remember her giving me a big hug. She's very supportive. And yeah, she just left me to sit and process that. And I sat there for what seemed like hours. And next day, I'm getting messages from friends and saying, "Are you looking at your Facebook post? Your leaving post," people started calling it. And that first sentence kept coming back. "This is my last Sabbath as a Seventh-day Adventist. Come sunset, I'm no longer SDA." And so I spent the day away from the phone, maybe looking in occasionally. And on the Sunday, I woke up no longer a Seventh-day Adventist, and I felt it very clearly, as if I'd taken the Adventist coat off and laid it aside, never to put on again. And what I noticed, I've often thought in my mind the analogy of my having a T-shirt on underneath that coat that said things like, try and be a good person, be kind, focus on goodness, virtue, honor. And I thought, as I took off that Adventist jacket, the Seventh-day Adventist jacket, and laid it aside, that I was still wearing that T-shirt. And a lot of people would say in the ensuing months and years that, oh, you're once an Adventist, always an Adventist. Yeah, cut Pete's skin, and actually cut myself today, but cut Pete's skin, and underneath is Adventist blood, And I knew that that wasn't the case. Yes, the Adventist filter caused me to interpret the Bible a certain way, and has taken years to fully remove. Yes, I was immersed in the culture, the friendships, the food, the jargon, the language. Yep, all of that stuff was there, and to some degree, some of it has left, some of it has stayed. But I'm talking about a deeper core knowing that when you don't align with the politics of the Adventist Church, with the core doctrines of the Adventist Church, you truly are separate from those ideas, those ideologies, those doctrines. So there was no meshing together of being Adventist. I took the jacket off, laid it aside, but was still me. And I think I'm lucky to have been raised by parents that didn't bombard me with the last day, time of trouble. I did get a lot of the scary. I was going to hold up the Now book. I did get a lot of that stuff through Sabbath school and church sermons, but at home, core values were Christian values, and lived out by my parents. And we didn't have Ellen White stories at night. We didn't have the get ready to run to the hills and let's pray the sins. Have you remembered all your sins? So in many ways, the core me, this T-shirt that I'm talking about wearing underneath, was well established. And yes, Adventism did a number on me and has done a number on me. And it's affected me in ways that potentially can never be truly repaired, damaged me in ways that may never be repaired, but that's okay. You know, I am who I am. I'm very happy. I go to sleep at night happy. Got two gorgeous daughters, now 11 and 12. I've got several businesses that I run. Happy, love it. I wake up every day looking forward to the day. And I love doing SDA Q&A. We've got our 2 programs a week plus our Good News Fellowship as our last program. I love it. It's interesting. You can balance having things clear, sense of liberation, freedom, being your own person, and you can still acknowledge that you've got scars and wounds, and they might be permanent. Maybe not. I just don't even really care. I I don't seek to be a fully together person, or I'm not actually a big striving kind of person. Maybe I never have been, but I know for sure in the last 3 years a lot of stuff has happened, and awakenings and epiphanies, and they've made me less desiring to prove anything, to strive. I am what I am. Living life isn't rocket science, really. It's a cup of coffee with friends. It's hearing my daughters laughing on the trampoline. It's hanging out with them in the swim spa. It's enjoying reading time before bed. It's not rocket science to live a life of just normality. I think we place too many big goals and desires and cravings into our paths. So, yeah, on the Sunday, Dad comes over and knocks on the door, and I thought, wow, I haven't talked to Dad about this stuff. I haven't talked to anybody about it. No one knew that I was going to be leaving. And he put his arm on my shoulder and he said, "Son, you've done the right thing." Wow. He'd always raised me to use this up here to analyze the data and draw my own conclusions. And asking the question why was something I'd been doing since I was 7. And so to hear him say that was just incredible. I remember thinking, yep, I can do it. I can get through this. And I've had that solid support from my mother and father and wife and my 2 daughters ever since. And I've still been able to enjoy Adventist connections. If anyone's watching and saying that they feel betrayed, or that they feel I'm pushing against the church too much, or that I've upset them, okay, so be it. But from where I sit, most of my Adventist friends, even those I disagree with, even those I have a bit of biffo with in discussional areas, in discussions, by and large, I feel like they're still friends. And my friendships, the horizons of my friendships have broadened as well. I've loved building new friendships with former Adventists, and I just love that the connections that I've made with you guys in the comments, and with in numerous ways I've been able to connect with you guys. And I just was a pig in mud when James Andres paid my way to the former Adventist fellowship last February, not the one just gone. And I got to meet these people that I'd been following online and through different social media outlets and books that had impacted my life. And I have actually connected in ways with my local community that have been surprising as well, in a way that I wasn't expecting. Because I used to own a music shop for 21 years in town, and I just sensed that the non-Adventists that would come into the shop just treated me a certain way that I found a bit confusing. And when I left the church, and because I'd made it so publicly clear that I left the church, when I would walk around town locally and a couple of other towns just nearby, I noticed that they treated me differently. how can I explain it? It was as if they were less cautious. As an Adventist, they were a little bit like, oh, he's an Adventist, and those guys. It was a bit us and them kind of feeling. And now I was just a normal person again. And maybe deep down I was treating them a little bit differently. I haven't thought about that. Maybe that sense of, being the remnant somewhere had echoed deeply within me. So yeah, I did find it a very emotional experience, but I think because of family support, I have a very strong inner world. Is that the word for it? Are they the words for it? A strong northern star. Not that it makes me a good person. It doesn't. That's for sure. But keeps me ensuring that the wheels on the wagon don't fall off. Like I can keep the vehicle together. Oh, I'm off the road now. Oh, get back on again. I'm lucky to kind of have a bit of that already wired within me. I'm also really glad to have had music, as a young 10 and 11-year-old. And prior to that, my dad's brother, when I was 4, 5, and 6, he would play to me. This was in New Zealand. He would play to me we'd watch the TV show together. And I remember the black and white TVs, and he would sit down with me, and it was like Top of the Pops or something. I don't know what the New Zealand equivalent was. And honestly, I think that saved me. Thank you, Uncle Dennis. Resting in peace. But he was a real cool baby boomer dude. And I guess when I was 5, he would have been 20. And we would listen to this Top of the Pops show. And there'd be rock bands and pop songs. And I remember it vividly. And then when I was 11 and Mum and Dad gave me a guitar and I started playing this guitar, wow. And that opened my eyes to this whole other category of life where I felt that deep down, I was a musician, a guitar player, more than a Seventh-day Adventist. And because people have said to me, wow, if you're a 5th-generation Adventist, and leaving in my early to mid 50s, that's a pretty big deal. And most people who leave the Adventist church often didn't come into it until they were adults or at an early age. But people who are generational Adventists, they, I think, rarely leave the church. And so, there's a few little ingredients there that I'm sharing that I think help explain why I was able to. I did have a loss of identity, a sense of that I'd lost some identity there, but I was able to work through that. That did last for a couple of years. First 5 years was difficult in some ways, navigating myself back onto following the North Star and back onto the path. And I read someone had quoted on one of the promo posts that I did today that, you're still... Actually, let me find it because it was worded quite interestingly. It's interesting, actually. There's some interesting comments, less friendly than my actual leaving post, I'm just noticing. So I wrote earlier today, I left Adventism on this day 9 years ago. And there's been some fun ones that people have written. Tim Humphreys writes, a fascinating journey, no doubt about it. Maria Lang wrote, woohoo! Robin Greenfield writes, so what's the big deal? We're free to choose. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Not Robin, if you're watching, I hope you are. I'm not sure what you mean. It's like, you can tell though, it's a bit of a dig, isn't it? That's the Adventist dig right there. So what's the big deal? Exclamation mark. We are free to choose. Exclamation mark. Yeah. And I did choose, and I'm not whinging. And hopefully, Robin, if you get to watch this, you get a sense of where I'm coming from with it all. John, hey, good to see you, John. John writes, how long did you live in Adventism? Yes, I was generational, and I'm 62 now. So what's that? -9. Yeah, so I was 54. So I lived 54 years of my life and was a 5th generation Seventh-day Adventist. Courtney Edwards writes, you could have fooled me with the acronym SDA You just can't leave. Hopefully, Courtney, you will notice it says a former Adventist looking in from the outside. Mario Kerr says, Ryan Day from 3ABN just left. You may want to interview him. And Terry Atkins replies that he just saw the Ryan Day leaving post. Well, Ryan Day will be on the show, USA time, Tuesday the 29th, and Australian time, Wednesday the 30th. So that's going to be an exciting interview. Where's this other one that Mr. Fonoff wrote? It was a beauty. Well, maybe he's deleted it. I think he has. Anyway, it was something along the lines of, oh, you're still defining, by posting that 9 years ago you left, you're still defining that you are a Seventh-day Adventist. Well, I left Fiji 40 years ago, and I'm not defining myself by having left Fiji. I'm not understanding some of those little digs going over my head a little bit. But yeah, here we are. So I'm not really looking at the comments over here, but I'll read some of those later. So I'm going to end today with let me just find it again. Sorry, we're live, so yeah, getting myself organized. Yeah, I'm just going to read, and it's interesting, isn't it, that the leaving post, a lot of the people that wrote then were much kinder to me than they are being now. I'm not sure why. Why do you think that is? Those watching now, why do you think that is? And if you're one of those that is just making those tiny little snide remarks, what is it that I'm triggering within you that upsets you so much? I'm really not sure. What is it that me using that freedom of choice that Robin Greenfield remembers, lovely person, I did a lot of music for her in New Zealand, incredible family. Yeah. And am I attacking the church, as Robin has said in the past? I'm really doing what Ellen White said, agitate, 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 because I believe this: if truth can't withstand scrutiny, what does that say? I think surely truth can withstand scrutiny, but but I get it as well. People do take things personally if their belief system is so entwined with a denomination. Yeah, I'm exploring all of those things still. And I appreciate that pushback that Robin, Fonov, others give, which helps me ponder it a bit more and understand myself a bit better. One of the biggest questions people ask me is, why are you still, involved with Adventism through the podcast? It's a really hard one to answer that, actually. It kind of just happened, really, and then I found that I was enjoying it. That's it. You've heard me talk about I was about to stop it all, and Lance Cameron Eggy, young bloke studying the ministry in the Philippines, said, "Oh, you should interview Bill Johnson." Lockdown had hit. I had no gigs. And I said, nah. And then he contacted me and said, "I've organised an interview with you and Bill for next week." And so I went ahead and did it. And instead of doing it as I normally did on the podcast platform, pre-recorded, I thought, let's just go live. So I went live. What people may not realise is that during that time period, I was doing about 11 different podcasts. So, for example, during lockdown, SDA Q&A, I was doing 6 shows a week. But I had another music one that was doing 2 a week. I had another one sharing relaxation music that was 2 or 3 a week. I had 11 different podcasts because we couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do any gigs. I had to put food on the table for my gorgeous daughters, and I just found a way to kind of talk and do interviews and play music, and I loved it. And one of the shows was SDA Q&A. And after the dust settled of the crazy lockdown period, once that ended, the podcast that was still standing was SDA Q&A. And I just continued with it. It's not some big, I've got to connect with the Adventist. I haven't worked it through. It's hard to explain to people if you just love doing things. I've been in bands where I just suddenly found out, I've been jamming with these guys, and it's a blues band, and boy, I love doing this. And I never set out to necessarily be in a blues band, but I love talking to people. I love playing music. I love entrepreneurial stuff. So next minute, I'm doing a podcast and I'm loving it. And here I am. And, I think I'm not justifying it. I'm interested when people ask me, because I just don't get what they don't get. There you go. So, let's read some comments, just 5 minutes. I'm not going to read all 1,100, but I will read some names out. Actually, that's why a few people, as I said earlier, there were over 1,400 comments. And I remember I did read out some names and comments once years later, and people started thinking, and please don't do this. Don't go and remove your text because I'm reading your name out. It's a lovely document to still just have there online. Anyway, Graham Fraunfelder was the first one to reply. And he wrote, "My friendship, acceptance, and love for you is always there." And Ross Cole, who I interviewed again a couple of weeks ago, he wrote, "I accept you and love you unconditionally, mate." And these are my opening, as I was reading this, these are the things I read, and it was very heartwarming. So I still feel that. Thank you very much. Kay Judge, Her and I often had robust conversations here online in the comments. But what a wonderful person she is. And, her husband Kevin and I are good mates. And she wrote back then, 9 years ago, today, April 15, 5 days before my birthday, having promised to myself I wasn't going to be an Adventist by my next birthday. She wrote, lots of courage. But nothing has changed between you and God. That is what counts. And we will all just be children of God in heaven. No denominations. Great that we can practice kingdom living now. I feel your pain, and I'm sure there are many that are not so proud to be attached to the label as they once were. And a lot of people back then, they were still reeling from the women's ordination no vote. So a lot of Adventists were like, whoa, I'm not sure I'm too proud of being an Adventist. Martin and Marion Miles wrote, your relationship with God, that's what is most important. Friends always, Marion. And my cousin Victoria Hamilton Russell wrote, those who know and love you surely don't love you because of your religion, but because of the person you are inside. This essential nature of you will remain. Wishing you love and acceptance as you readjust. And a lot of these have got sub-comments as well, which are interesting to read. For me, anyway. Martin Fawkes, a good guitar mate of mine, guitar playing mate. All the best, Peter. You're a good man, whatever that means, and a brave and inclusive one. That is good. That much I know. Jeff Parker, again, someone he and I have had diverse thoughts and disagree on lots of things, but he wrote, we'll always love and respect you, Peter. And Josephine McKay, who I'm still friends with, she wrote, wow, this has hit me like a rock. Are you okay, Peter? Is there anything we can do? You are still our friend and your beautiful family. And let's see. As I said, I'm not going to read all of them. Just a couple of minutes more. Diane Faye Miller writes, good for you. I'm not SDA and never would be. Your true friends will stand by you. Those that don't never were. Awesome. Man, there was a lot of humor in there as well. Not with that one, with this next one, Mandy Jane Emmanuel. And are you moving away from Kurumbong too, Peter? Because Kurumbong is known as quite an Adventist town. So if you're not an Adventist anymore, are you moving away? LOL. Wendy Patterson wrote, I understand completely. Sadie Morris wrote, that must have been a very, very difficult decision. Stay close to God anyway. For living with Christ, you don't need to be an SDA. Michelle Whiting, good friend of mine from way back in the 70s. And she wrote, I completely understand. I just call myself a Christian now. I have beautiful memories of growing up in the church. Yeah, I do too. And Shania Hills Perry wrote, understand exactly. Carl Winchcombe wrote, don't go. Michael Wind wrote, welcome to the dark side, Peter Dixon. The Force awakens. And Carol Winch Davis, who I just ran into the other day at a cafe, she wrote, Peter, you love God. Jesus died for us all. Religion has a lot to answer for. Where two or three are gathered together, ... David Riley wrote, would love to hear what has led you to this point in your journey. Sadly, the church is a very human organization and imperfect, much like myself. And that theme carried on. And I didn't leave because the church is imperfect or because people have flaws. I left because I saw a kind of loop in Adventism that I knew was never going to end. And that was one that was going to constantly suppress women, that was going to constantly take away any male power, was constantly going to usurp people, however they identified, and with ways that control, manipulate, and the use of doctrine. I just thought, nah, this hope that a lot of the liberal, progressive, revisionist, gospel, big tent, cultural Adventists have offered, it just hit me. No, that's not going to change. So it's more than just flawed corporations or humans or churches or movements or denominations. Adventism has something within it that, as Robin said, you can choose to be in it or not. And it has something revolving in it that is not good for some people. People that are feeling what I'm feeling tonight, we know what that feels like, and it's not good for us. But often we stay because we think it's going to change, or because, so those who stay, like Robin Greenfield, great. I just think fantastic. She does incredible work for the church. Incredible. She puts her, her money where her mouth is. She has organized incredible events because for her, it's fine. It works. But I'm just saying that the machine of Adventism doesn't work for some people. And so people like me just say it's okay to leave. We're just normalizing it. It's okay to leave. You're going to be okay. There's people out here who can support you and help you through it. We're not saying everyone must leave. We're saying it's okay to leave, because many Adventists don't. They try and justify it. They try and rationalize. They try and get that crazy cognitive dissonance working. Like when I interviewed Lloyd Grolleman last week, another guy I really get on well with, and he and I have very opposing views in many theological areas. He said to me the day after this, and it's probably in one of the posts, so I know he wrote a message to me, mate, let me come up and pray with you. That's all he said. Dr. Norm Young visited me on the Sunday, turned up at the house, and was almost in tears as he said, Peter, we've let you down. If you're going to be leaving this church, we've let you down. And he, of course, didn't let me down personally, and neither did the church. It just wasn't a fit for me. And if it's not the fit for you in other benign religions, people just tend to move on. Oh, well, I'm a Baptist, but I'm going to go to the Uniting Church. It feels better for me. It's a better fit for me. But Adventism has a component that guilts you in, fears you in, and every single kind of Adventist in some way encourages you to stay in a kind of a dramatic way that can be casual and, hey, man, just stay. And, hey, what's the problem? Or it can be really manipulative and dangerous. There is something about Adventism that for people it doesn't fit, it still doesn't want to let you go. Unless it goes, okay, well, you be an apostate then. See you later. You guys are better gone than staying, and spit you out. It can do that as well. But for the lot of people like me, just knowing that it's okay to leave is really all I'm saying. And if I keep saying it, that's because every new generation rising up needs to hear it. It's okay to leave. It's okay to say, you know what? I don't think Ellen White actually did have visions of any kind. And yeah, she was a great person and inspirational and did lots of good things. But I don't think she talked to God. And I don't want to be in a church that really promotes her as someone that did. Whatever your individual reason is, if this is not your Adventism, that's fine. Be an Adventism. Be an Adventist. Be in Adventism. But try not to make snide remarks towards those of us who are just using our freedom of choice to say, yeah, I'm leaving. Kelvin Hart, always funny. Come back. Linda Charge wrote, I don't know you, and I'm sure you have your reasons, but it saddens me to hear that. I understand the struggles. I have left a few times, but God led me back. So no matter what I feel or others feel about me, I'm here to stay. No matter the problems, and there has been plenty, and I feel like leaving, but I know God kept bringing me back, so I'm here to stay no matter what. God led me. God lead you to where you need to be. And thank you, Linda. If you're still watching anything that I do, I'd love to know where you're at now, 9 years later. But yeah, God led me to where I needed to be. Lots of very interesting comments. Shay Mitchell wrote, would like to know what it is that you no longer agree with. Most people who leave do so because of people's actions or politics within the church. It's sad. I hope that's not the reason. Well, I didn't leave because of politics, even though I left because I'd had enough of the no vote style politics. So I didn't leave because of church treating me bad or people treating me bad. Remember, I'm 54 when I left. I'd been a musician, full-time musician for 30 years. I'd seen it all. I'd had every type of criticism. I'd been banned from places. I'd had people call me a tool of Satan. If I was going to leave because people treated me badly or I'd had bad experiences, I would have left 30 years ago, because some of it was really interesting, really quite tough. So no, I didn't leave for that. And I knew the politics was crazy, and I knew the ideology and theology. I didn't agree with a lot of it, but I still stayed. People were good to me. Most were good to me. Few people were nasty. So what? I didn't care. I stayed. So it was more that realization that the politics, the ideology, the cray-cray doctrines were never going to change. And again, Shay, if you're watching, here I am holding Renee, nearly 4 she is, 2 o'clock in the morning, watching YouTube, hearing the no vote, hearing Jan Paulson being booed. And I just simply looked at her and looked at the screen and looked into my heart. And I knew that I just simply couldn't put my name to that anymore. I hope that people watching this get a bit of a sense of, what the experience was like, what I went through. Those who are unsure, I'm still very open to unpack more with people if they're not too sure what I'm doing, why I've left. I'm happy to take on board the criticism, whatever. Just share it with me instead of behind my back. Nolene Barron wrote, I'm just going to read 2 more. I wish you well, Peter. It's an enormous decision to make. I did it 34 years ago. I'm still very much a Christian, only without a handle, and have never been so happy or so blessed. There will be difficult times ahead, but hang in there and know that God has so much in store for you. My reason for leaving was theological, and the decision to leave took a long time. But when I was introduced to the true gospel, everything changed. I shared the same grandfather as Lester Lemke, and after multiple generations in the church, it was very difficult. And even though most people did not understand, and in most cases did not want to, I have never regretted my decision. God bless you always. Actually, I'll leave it there. That's a really nice one. Nolene, I hope you're watching and get to hear what I read out there. So it's a fascinating read. It's a fascinating sociological experience. if you'd like me to share the link to that, I'll think about sharing it. I just like kind of leaving it. I don't comment on it. I never commented on it apart from that one thing I said that I reinforced that I wasn't leaving because of a person or a church. I left for personal reasons. I think I wrote that somewhere down the end. But I didn't like any comments. I didn't comment on anything. I just thought this is a anthropological study. This is a human behavioral study. Just leave it. So I hesitate sharing links with people because I know that people will then tend to add comments and it'll bump it up and it'll turn into fight, Whereas it was just kind of a nice summation of the whole experience. One of the journalists from Spectrum, I won't name names just yet, but at the time I will when it comes out, is writing an article on SDA Q&A and me and that question I mentioned earlier is, why are you doing this? Why are you still doing this even though you've left the church? I had a big interview with them and told them lots of what I've shared today because they were interested in that. Why are you still here? So hopefully on this day, April 15, I can just celebrate and pause for a moment and just put a little, I can't think of the word. It's getting late. It's nearly midnight. Just a little memorable keepsake. And I'm planning to have a big one next year. We'll have a big celebration. Let's meet in Fiji or Hawaii next April. And I'll celebrate my 10 years leaving. And you guys can come along and we'll enjoy each other's company. And I'd be very happy if Kay came and Robin Greenfield came and all of you guys came along and we just have a really great time with music and food and conversation. And so thanks for sharing this time with me. I wanted it to just be an hour and we've just hit an hour and 7, so that's pretty good. And I didn't plan to do this. It just kind of popped into my head. I wanted to mark the moment. So thank you everyone for watching. If you'd like to support what I'm doing, it's very easy. Just lean forward and click the like and subscribe and hit the notifications button. If you'd like to make a donation, throw some couple of dollars my way. That really helps. Just there at PayPal. Really helps. PayPal.me/Peter Dixon Music. This is certainly a project that I want to just keep on doing. I just love it. And I mean no ill will to Adventists at all. I just want to shine a light on the movement and people can decide if they want to stay or not. They don't have to watch the show even. Don't go near it if you don't like it. But I guess I just want to normalize leaving, that it's okay if you decide to leave. Life goes on. You'll be surprised how many friends and family still love you. You will be surprised. A lot of the thoughts of, they're going to hate me. I'm going to break this family up. And it doesn't happen. In fact, I get on better, I think, with my Adventist brothers and sisters than before. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good sleep. Have a good afternoon. And I will look forward to catching up with you tomorrow. I will be interviewing someone. I can't remember. Let me just check my messages and see if anyone got back to me. There's no confirmation. I'll be interviewing someone tomorrow. And then we've got Frank Merendino on our gospel program, which is Thursday night, 6 p.m. USA Pacific time, 11 a.m. Friday, New South Wales, Australia. And on the middle interview is going to be season 2, episode 9, where I interview husband and wife Peter and Wendy Marks and their daughter Ruth Ellen, who was Marks and now she's M-A-C-H-T, Macht. It's a German name, I think, similar to Marks. And their Peter's father, his name was Raglan Marks, and he was very, very influential, one of the big movers and shakers of what we call the CBs, the Concerned Brethren, the people that galvanized a movement against Des Ford and set up what's the word? Put it this way, let's reverse engineer my thought. Every independent ministry out there, from Light Bearers, David Asherik, Doug Batchelor, you name it, they all lead back to the CBs. Standish Brothers started, is it Heartland College? They had a lot to do with that other one, Weimar. These guys influenced the comeback of the traditional Adventists, the original Adventists, what I call the real Adventists. They ensured that by the time they ensured that Des got kicked out, they ensured that true Adventism would prevail and make a comeback post Questions on Doctrine. So it's a really interesting interview. The son of Raglan Marks. Anyway, catch you guys. And yeah, 9 years ago today, I left Adventism. Okay, that was my little story. See you soon.